Joey,
Eh?
who ate all the...
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you some breaking news.
Two Cat Kitchen, it's time for us to pitch in and start another Two Cat show. Down at the Two Cat Kitchen, we're starting on a mission to put you in the culinary know. We've got the finest recipes you ever will find, guaranteed to show you all a mighty fine time here at the Two Cat Kitchen. Time for a new edition of the Culinary Two Cat Show. The Culinary Two Cat Show.
Welcome to the Two Cat Kitchen, the show that mixes musical mayhem with culinary calamity. Sarah Grady is here to help with the mixing.
Brewing up our custom blend once again.
Each episode features new songs, a brand new recipe, and a special musical guest. Who's our guest today?
Today's musical guest is Ben Quinn.
Great, looking forward to that. Every show also includes an informative segment. What do we have for the people today?
This week, we're excited to welcome back Mr. O'Malley, who will be taking the mystery out of history.
Wait a minute, is that the Coconotes I hear?
Oh my gosh, it is!
Sarah, you want to go check it out?
I'll be right back.
Well, what did you find out?
Well, they are so glad to be back, and they brought you a present.
They did? Wow, what'd they get me?
They got you this tiny snow globe of Des Moines.
Des Moines, Iowa?
Yes,
Wow, what I always wanted. Where'd they get it?
the airport.
Oh, nice. An airport trinket.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong with that. All right, we're going to check in with our musical guest in just a minute. But I understand the Coconotes have a new song. It's called It Don't Mean a Thing. Let's check it out.
Long ago and far away, never had to have a reason for feeling this way. But as time slips away, all the elemental forces come into play. Keep on smiling when you look my way. Gives me the feeling everything's alright. Keep in mind, no matter what you say, that another day's gonna follow the night, and it don't mean a thing. No, it don't mean a thing. It don't mean a thing, yeah. And that's alright. Throw a line to a drowning man. Give me something to believe in, some kind of plan. I can't say I understand. Try to make some sense of it all if I can. But keep on smiling when you look my way. Gives me the feeling everything's alright. And keep in mind, no matter what you say, that another day's gonna follow the night, and it don't mean a thing. No, it don't mean a thing. It don't mean a thing, yeah. And that's alright. you try to fight the everlasting madness, even though you see the sadness in their eyes. Now it's time for moving on, and the years keep fooling, then they're gone, and it don't mean a thing. No, don't mean a thing. It don't mean a thing, yeah. And that's all right.
We're back at the Two Cat Kitchen, and here with our musical guest for today, it's Ben Quinn. Ben, thanks for being a guest here on the Two Cat Kitchen.
Pleasure to be here, Rick. Thanks for having me.
Great. So tell us, what have you been up to lately? What have your musical endeavors been these days?
Well, I've been playing a lot of, solo acoustic shows around Rhode Island.
Okay.
So playing at, small restaurants and bars, hotels, bars,
Yeah. Yeah. And you've been doing stuff, guitar and with guitar mostly.
Right. For that, I'll sing and
Yeah.
play acoustic guitar
Right.
and play harmonica.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm curious. I mean, I've heard you a couple of times, and you have like really diverse musical repertoire, I guess. Is there any one particular type of music you like to focus on, or you just like a lot of different things when you're doing your gigs, your acoustic gigs? Right.
I would say with the acoustic gigs, I like to have a lot of different options.
Okay.
To pull from, because when I do one of those shows, I like to have a different set list each time that kind of caters to the energy and the clientele and the venue. So I like to have a lot of different genres that I can pick from.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And they also have to translate well on acoustic.
I
Right?
see.
So a lot of times that's like country songs or, some classic rock, stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and again, it depends on the venue where you're playing.
Sure.
Do you ever? What do you do if you go into a place where you've never really played before and you're not 100% sure what's going on there? Or do you usually check them out ahead of time? Or I was always curious about that.
Sometimes I'll check them out ahead of time, because booking can be kind of a complicated process. You
Yeah.
go in or call them up or something like that. So sometimes I'll go in to try to get booked somewhere. But no, oftentimes you just have to read the room and kind
Okay.
of see what people are responding to And also, sometimes it's obvious. Like, for example, I play at this place, Moonshine Alley, in Providence sometimes. And that's kind of more like a country flavored bar,
Okay, so you know what you're going to be getting into there a little bit. Yeah, and I guess in some places you maybe you got to change gears a little bit once you get started, huh? If the different type of crowd comes in, or
definitely, yeah, absolutely. The crowd is, I wanted them to be part of the experience, so that often that means playing songs that they respond to and that they know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Because, and I wonder if that, I've never done a solo thing, to be honest with you. And it just petrifies me to do that. And so I've always been in a band situation.
Right.
And in a band situation, I don't know if it's harder to pivot what you're doing. With solo, you have like a broad repertoire, bit different genres, so you can kind of change on a dime if you have to, right? It's just a matter of, digging through the songs,
Right. And it's always, there's probably like 60 songs that I'm kind of circling through at any time, and some come and some go.
Yeah.
But some are good with the band and not good solo, and some songs are good solo and not good, or not as good with the band, or like it doesn't have the same feel.
Okay. So you're doing, in addition to your solo work, you're doing some stuff with a band.
So I play with a band, Apollo's Eclipse.
Okay.
And we write original music and perform, around Rhode Island as well.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's great. Original stuff. Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. So we released an album last year, and really happy with how it came out. And now we're working on another one.
No kidding.
So,
wow, that's great. Yeah. So what's the instrumentation for that deal?
That band is myself on keyboard and vocals, and then lead guitar, bass, and drums.
Oh, okay. Four-piece. That's great.
4-piece. I've also been, recording a lot of music at home, doing like a solo project and solo recordings.
Yeah.
And I released an album last year in October of home recordings that I did.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, fantastic. And so is this stuff that you do as part of your show, part of your performance, or is it stuff that you've written maybe, or is it a combination? Or
so the stuff that I record at home, there's some overlap with the with the stuff that I'm performing, but generally I'll write stuff that doesn't have or the arrangement isn't necessarily suited for like acoustic guitar, know?
Yeah.
So I like to do a lot of keyboard and like synth and keyboard bass with some acoustic guitar mixed in.
Okay, so yeah, I get it. Nice. Yeah, it's nice that you have that capability to do that. Yeah. All right. So I think what I'm curious about is how you got started in music, because I've known you for a long time, and I'm not totally clear exactly how you got started in music, but you can bring me up to speed and bring us all up to speed and how that came about. Was it early on in life, or?
I think I've always had music inside me, right? And you're right, we have known each other a very long time.
I think so, yeah.
My whole life, So,
which is not a super long time, but
yeah.
compared to my life,
compared to others, but it's still measured in decades.
Yes, that's true.
I have memories with Liz and singing in the car.
Okay.
And so I've always been very enthusiastic about music, and I played recorder and played trombone in middle and elementary school.
Oh, okay.
But that was the extent of my musical training for a long time.
Yeah.
For probably 10 years. And a few years ago, I picked up the keyboard and started playing piano and joined a band and started singing.
Oh, okay.
And then now I play guitar and some harmonica and trombone as well. So
Trombone, yeah. It's well.
the trombone's back. Everything's come full circle. Yeah.
That's great. So were you doing music when you were in college, for example, or in high school? No, you kind of took a break through there. Yeah.
No, not in high school. And I started again the senior year of college. I started playing piano in the music center at my university.
Oh,
I would just go into the practice rooms and tinker around a little bit. And then the next year, I bought a keyboard. And then, I've slowly been accumulating musical instruments ever since.
That's great. So, that sounds like a great way to go about it. And, all right. So I think with that in mind, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back here in the Two Cat Kitchen. We're back, and Ben, you do a lot of things in addition to music that we'd like to kind of talk a little bit about now. So, and you've traveled around quite a bit too. I think you mentioned that after college, you headed out to the West Coast to Seattle and did some teaching out there.
That's right. I was involved in a program called City Year, which is associated with AmeriCorps, which is a service program for young people and college grads, or not college grads, really just young people in general. And there I was working at a bilingual elementary school as a teacher aide and kind of shadowing one teacher for a year.
Oh, that's really interesting.
The student-teacher situation, yeah.
So a bilingual school. What was there another main language or in addition to English?
So it was English and Spanish.
Okay.
So the classes were taught, about 50-50 in either language.
And you speak Spanish, so you could handle it. Yeah.
And I definitely improved my Spanish at the school teaching, because I would teach in Spanish sometimes.
Wow.
Yeah, so definitely had to improve my pronunciation and whatnot.
Did the kids help you with your Spanish?
Yeah, and I helped them with their English, right?
Yeah. Well,
and some of the kids were native English speakers as well.
Oh, okay.
So it was not only native Spanish speakers. It was a mix of children. But everyone was learning Spanish and English at the same time.
And then after that, you headed to China. Is that?
Yes.
So tell us about that. How did that come about?
Well, after being in Seattle, I wanted some, even more adventure, right? And wanted to go abroad. So I looked into opportunities to teach English. Actually, I looked into a lot of opportunities just to travel in general.
Yeah.
Including, missionary work, or, the army, or all different options. But I settled on teaching English and went to the Shandong province of China, to Jinan City and Rizhao City.
Okay. Those sound vaguely familiar to me, but what part of China are they in?
So the Shandong province is in between Shanghai and Beijing. and it's kind of across from Korea, a little bit south. You know,
Oh, okay.
If you're looking at a map,
Yeah.
it's a similar latitude.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I was working there as an English teacher, Waijiao, as they're known in Chinese. And I worked at a university. I worked at a kindergarten. I worked at a place called a busiban, which is like an after-school tutoring center.
Oh, okay.
And at the time, those were hugely popular in China, where, you know, a lot of kids would be going from school right to a private tutoring center. And, you know, they're everywhere. Kids learning English, studying calculus. So it was a huge industry.
Wow.
And that's all out of that fierce competition in their final exam, in their high school final exam. It determines their, their college placement.
Oh, wow. That's
So
interesting.
people will start from toddler, you know, training for this exam that they're going to take their senior year of high school.
Holy moly. That's so much pressure on just the one exam, huh? That must be crazy
Yeah.
to go through that. But I guess they all go through it, huh?
It's like the SAT on steroids.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the SAT is bad enough, but I mean, if you have the whole rest of your life, well, yeah, that's crazy.
Well, so anyways, there's a huge emphasis on education. And, you know, as a result, the private, you know, tutoring industry was massive at that time. I think the policy has changed and they're actually prohibited now. But
No kidding.
that's a whole nother tangent. But
Wow.
when I was there were people from all over the world teaching English. Lots of college students from other countries in Africa or the Middle East. So there were a lot of foreigners there at the time that I was there.
Yeah, and so the students that you taught, they were Chinese students,
Correct.
for the most part. Yeah,
Correct.
And so did you know the language, their language, when you went in, or was it one of those things that you didn't really need to know, or?
No, when I went there, I spoke very basic. You know,
Okay.
hello, I want this.
Yeah,
You know, because I had a couple months to prepare.
yeah,
But no, I really immersed myself in learning, and you know, I was in a situation where I could really, you know, push myself to learn and be exposed to the language and be in an immersive environment, and you know, I was able to learn quite a bit.
yeah. And it must have been helpful to have, like you said, a lot of foreign people from different countries,
Right.
but maybe all unified by the fact that they speak English too, so that can help. And
Yeah.
so,
Well, the first city I was in, there were more foreigners.
no kidding.
And then halfway through, I moved to a different city
Yeah,
and changed jobs. And that city, there were less foreigners. So then I was really, you know, forced to speak Chinese in order to do a lot of basic things.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, what a way to learn.
Definitely.
And are there different dialects of Chinese too,
Oh,
or
yeah.
depending on what? Yeah, they are.
Oh, yeah.
So you obviously learned the dialect where you were, and
Well, so there's, you know, hundreds, if not thousands of dialects of Chinese that are, in my opinion, different enough to really be classified as different languages.
wow.
Verbally, right?
Yeah,
But they're all unified by the character system, and they all have the same, you know, alphabet. Or not really an alphabet, but, you know, the characters.
yeah, okay.
And, you know, in that way, the country, although people speak different languages, they're still unified by that written text,
Oh, okay.
the written language.
And did you learn the written part of it, or?
Yeah, I can read it,
Yeah.
and I can type it.
Okay.
But if you ask me to write characters, I'm struggling.
Okay.
Yeah.
I imagine that must take quite an effort.
Well, it takes the children years to
yeah.
learn, you know.
Wow.
So
That's crazy.
I didn't invest my time in learning that.
Understandable, yeah. That's great. So you must have some great experiences that you had while you were over there.
Oh, yeah.
Can you think of one or two that you could
Sure.
pop up?
Well, the one that stands out to me is visiting my friend's home for Chinese New Year, and spending a couple days with his family in his hometown, and meeting his grandfather, who had been in the war with the Japanese. Wow. And seeing his little city, trying the different foods, like trying some exotic animals, and that was a beautiful time. The Chinese New Year is such a massive celebration there, and it's coming up actually.
Yeah, is it at the end of this month?
I think it's at the end of this month. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's the last week of January.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they celebrate by giving one another money. A lot of times they'll like give red packets or hongbao. It's like they give people just cash.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's like the main gift.
Wow, that's crazy.
And another memory that stands out would be my first college class. It was the first class that I taught in China, and I walked onto the campus. It was a medical school, so I was teaching like nursing students.
Yeah.
And the handler took me to the class, and I walked in. There's probably 100 students in there, and they gave me a standing ovation. And just that feeling of being so welcomed was amazing in those first couple weeks when I was so far from home. Right?
No kidding. Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah. And then, I'm just curious, how would you go about teaching a class in English? This is English, obviously, as a second language, right? And
Yes.
So just like I'm just curious, your first class starting off, what do? You just do a couple of English phrases, or I always wondered how that works.
Yeah, the class was more of like a spectacle, I would say, because I taught almost like all of the students at the university, because I would teach like one class one time.
Oh.
And then they would put in the next class. So each class got like one or two classes with the foreign teacher.
Oh.
So, yeah, actually there were a couple where I was in more close contact and more frequent contact.
Yeah.
But most of them I would do like 100-person lectures just one time.
Yeah.
So how to go about that? Well, you have to be careful in planning your curriculum.
I imagine so.
Because some of my colleagues got in trouble for bringing up certain topics that were not approved, and they were certainly taking like a ledger and monitoring the content of the classes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you would just talk about a topic in...
Yeah, I would keep it light, talk about... a lot of times I would, appropriate short stories.
Oh, okay.
And just kind of like make them in the personal... Like I would say it happened to me or something like that.
Okay.
I would say it through my perspective. Like the one, I forget the name of the story, but it's the story where it's like a Christmas story. And there's a couple, and the man buys... a comb for his wife, but then she cuts her hair and sells her hair to buy him a watch. But he sold his chain for the watch to buy the comb. So they each kind of sacrifice something for their lover.
Yeah.
But in doing so, like the gift that the other person gives them is kind of in vain.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Oh, that's
You know what I mean?
interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting story. But a couple times I got called out. Some of the more well-read students would be like, "Hey, that's this story." You know what I mean? You just you just copped that story from Shakespeare.
Oops.
I was like, "Hey, you get an A."
That's interesting. So given that you only saw some of the students maybe once, right?
Yeah.
What was the idea behind the class? Just to have them hear somebody speaking English?
Yeah, I think just to have somebody, have a native speaker. And I had a couple trainings with the staff there in the English department. So, yeah, like I said before, I think it was largely spectacle to be able to, have the foreign teacher and just, it's a form of prestige to be able to have like the foreign teacher there who teaches English.
I see.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds. Did you ever do any work on the side while you were there, tutoring or anything along those lines, or? Yes,
I did. I would work at the tutoring centers.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, so that was kind of the part-time gig.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Yeah, and there were a lot of offers because you kind of stand out as a white person being in China. So people would ask me on the street if I wanted to work at their school.
Oh, wow.
People would approach me while I was eating and be like, hey, you want to pick up a couple shifts over at, Happy Days English?
We're back at the Two Cat Kitchen, and Ben has made his way down to Studio B, where he's going to bring us a song that he wrote called Come Down. Let's check it out.
Hey, babe, you think I love you? Think I need you? Think I gotta have you? Hey, babe, tell me how to please. I could never leave you. No, I gotta have you. Let your love come down. Let your love come down. Let your love come down. Wash me clean. Hey, babe, no, I want to see. I could never leave. No, I gotta have you. Let your love come down on me. Need you, baby, yeah. You know I need you back, yeah. Let your love come down. Let your love come down. Let your love come down and wash me clean. Yeah. Hey, what you got to say? Are you gonna keep it pushing? Bring things my way. And I said, oh, you gonna go one way or another? Keep coming back for more. Hey, babe. Let your love come down. Let your love come down. Let your love come down and wash me clean. Yeah. Hey, what you got to say? Are you gonna keep it pushing? Bring things my way. And I said, oh, you gonna go one way or another. Keep coming back for more, baby.
We're back at the Two Cat Kitchen here with Ben Quinn. And Ben, so you eventually made your way back to the U.S. where you are now. And what are you up to these days, job-wise?
Yeah. Well, these days I live in Providence, Rhode Island, with my girlfriend Shannon, and I work in Central Falls, which is an immigrant community outside of Providence. And I'm a ESL teacher and community health worker at a nonprofit there.
Wow, that's really interesting. What kind of stuff do you do with the community health?
With the community health work, we do a lot of different services. So it looks like, getting people signed up for health insurance, helping people manage their health insurance once they're already enrolled. Helping people access public benefits like disability, or really, anything that has to do with accessing, something through the state. The community health worker can help people get over that language barrier, right? So a lot of times I'll help people who speak Spanish kind of navigate the entitlement system. And it ties into the music too, because I'm able to offer music lessons to seniors as part of this work.
No kidding.
So I have a group of seniors who I give piano and guitar lessons to.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, it's fun.
Is that Is that like at a community center or something?
Yeah.
In Central Falls.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So Ben, one thing we ask everybody here on the Two Cat Kitchen is, what was your first musical memory?
Well, many things come to mind because my parents are, such big fans of music, and we're always playing music around the house. But I think the one that stands out the most is like the first song or melody that I came up with, and I still remember to this day, which came from a museum exhibit that we went to as a family in New York about Mount Kilimanjaro, the mountain in Africa. And I remember in the ride home, I was probably about between 3 and 5, I was singing the song, Mount Kilimanjaro, Mount Kilimanjaro. And for some reason, that's just stuck with me over all these years.
That's great.
And I think maybe someday I'll actually make a song out of it just for kicks.
Wow, that's fantastic.
But that's my first musical memory.
That's great. Wow. So that exhibit in that mountain made an impression on you and brought the music out in you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. Well, another thing we do here on the Two Cat Kitchen is we like to talk about a recipe with our guests, and I think you have something in mind.
I do.
Okay, great. And we're going to take a quick break, and we'll come right back with that. We're back at the Two Cat Kitchen, and it's time for our recipe. What do you have for us today?
Well, one of my favorite foods to cook is chicken thighs. So I've been, making them a couple nights a week for years now. So I've definitely had some time to experiment and perfect my recipe.
Really? Wow.
So what I like to do is get the skin on, bone in chicken thigh.
Ah, okay. That was going to be my first question. All right. So skin on, bone in.
Skin on, bone in.
Got it.
And the first step is you have to prepare the chicken thigh, right?
Okay.
So what I'll do when I have the time, I'll take off the skin, take out the bone, marinate the chicken. And then what we're going to do is take the skin and render the fat from the skin and make kind of like a chicharron chicken skin.
Wow.
So what you do for that, put the chicken skin flat out in the cast iron and put it in a 350 oven for 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And they'll come out nice and crispy with a couple tablespoons of fat.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
So from there, we take those out, put those to the side with a little salt.
Okay.
And lime or lemon if you have it. And that can either be an appetizer while you're waiting for the chicken thighs to cook.
Yeah.
Or you can put that as a crackling topping.
Yep.
To add a little texture.
Yeah.
So then what we'll do is throw a little egg and flour mix on the marinated chicken thighs.
Okay.
Now, when we're marinating the chicken thighs, the most important thing is salt and a little bit of acid, right? So maybe vinegar or some lime or something like that. Something to kind of get that meat tenderized.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'll add a lot of different spices, but just use whatever you have in the pantry.
Okay, but salt and acid.
Salt and acid is the
Is the
most
key.
important.
All right.
And ideally, you want to give it at least an hour to marinate if you can.
Okay.
So what we'll do there, cover it in the egg and flour, right? Do a little light batter on it.
Yep.
And we'll put those into the same pan where we cooked the chicken skin.
Oh, okay.
Now, there's enough fat, ideally, to kind of coat both sides of the chicken thigh and get that flour kind of soaked up with the fat.
Yeah.
So then you let those broil, both sides, let them broil for about 5-6 minutes on each side. And they'll come out like little pieces of fried chicken.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. Fantastic.
Yeah. So that's my suggestion. If you got the time, that's the way to do it.
It doesn't sound like it takes a lot of time, though. I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, an hour for the marinating, but the actual...
Yeah, I don't know if it's an ideal weeknight dinner,
Yeah,
but
okay. Yeah.
if you want to do it right, you can
Yeah.
do abbreviated versions of that recipe where you leave the skin on. That still comes out great,
Yeah.
right? But I find the texture when you take the skin off is just incredible.
Wow. Yeah. And so, all right. So I understand the skin on. Why do you get the bone in? I guess you have to get the skin. You got to have bone in, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you can leave the bone in, and when you cook the meat with the bone, it imparts certain flavor that you don't get when you take the bone out.
Oh, okay. So you
Right.
could do either one.
Yeah, you could do either one. They cook a lot faster, and if people are maybe uncomfortable cooking chicken or something like that, they don't know when it's done. You want to take that bone out because it will cook a lot faster and much more evenly without the bone.
Oh, okay.
And then you can use the bone to make stock or, what have you
Yeah.
at another time.
All right.
I've got a whole graveyard of chicken bones in my freezer.
No kidding. That's fantastic. Well, there you have it. Chicken thighs here on the Two Cat Kitchen. We'll be right back. Next up, it's Ben Quinn with an original song, Highway Roar, right here on the Two Cat Kitchen.
I've been high and I've been low, still can't find no reason not to go insane. I've been low and I've been high, still can't find no reason why to stay. As I hear that highway roaring, calling out my name. Well, the future's soon be gone now, just as quickly as it came. Quickly as it came. I've been east and I've been west, and still can't find no place to rest my bones. Oh Lord, I've been west and I've been east, keep on slipping by on the skin of my teeth. quickly as it came. Quickly as it came.
Hey, Sarah, it's time for Taking the Mystery Out of History with Mr. O'Malley. Do you know what he's talking about this month?
He is talking about the history of music in Providence with a focus on vaudeville.
All right, well, let's take it away here in the Two Cat Kitchen.
We take the mystery out of history on the Two Cat Kitchen Show.
I'm here with Mr. O'Malley, who, again, is going to help us to take the mystery out of history. Hello, John. How are you doing today?
Good, Rick. How are you?
I'm good. And I think your topic today is about music, which is good, history of some type of music. And it's music in a place that's very near and dear to us here at the Two Cat Kitchen. And that's in Providence, Rhode Island, the city of Providence, which is a fairly good, well-known musical city, I believe. And so what have you got for us?
Well, I grew up in Providence, and it was a mecca for music, a mid-sized city on the traveling route to New York City and between Boston and New York. And we're going to go back to the post-Civil War period with the advent of vaudeville. And Providence became a vaudeville stopover place. And vaudeville, let me explain a little bit about vaudeville. Vaudeville had its origins in court jesters in Europe and even in Africa, where you had dances and comedy and singing and acrobats and magic. And the vaudeville that started and it played in Providence in the late 19th century up until the 1930s had all of these things involved. And vaudeville was mainly male audiences, and it started in beer halls, and they cleaned up the act because early on it was sort of girly shows, and they cleaned up the act, and by the late 1930s, vaudeville started to fade with the advent of movies and the big band music era, and Providence had a lot of vaudeville oriented theaters, like the Columbus Theater, which was built in 1926, the Strand Theater, which is the home of Lupo's in the 20th century. It was built in the 1915, and the Providence Performing Art Theater, it was known as the Lowe's Theater, was built in 1927, and the Albee Theater, 1916. So, and the Majestic Theater, which is the home of the President Trinity Repertory Theater, was 1917. And all these were stopovers for vaudeville acts. And they were really important vaudeville acts. So Providence was a mecca of music and entertainment.
Wow.
And the one famous Providence guy was George M. Cohan.
No kidding.
And
that's a big name, yeah.
George M. Cohan wrote "I'm a Yankee Doodle Dandy."
Yeah.
And during the First World War.
Wow.
And he's named his name is attached to George M. Boulevard Highway right near Fox Point. And
In
so
Providence, yeah. So he was a Providence guy.
yeah, he
Wow.
was a Providence guy.
That's crazy.
And so, with the demise of vaudeville, you also at the same time, you had the big band era in Providence, and eventually Providence became a mecca for black artists.
Oh, okay.
After World War II, with the establishment by an Italian immigrant of the Celebrity Club on Randall Square in Providence, and it's right where I grew up. I grew up on Camp Street in the Mount Hope section, and it was right next to the Lippet Hill section, which is historically a black neighborhood.
Okay.
And just down from Lippet Hill is North Main Street, and where the Charles Gate housing complex is on North Main Street, right near Benefit Street. That used to be Benefit Street was an all-black, poorer neighborhood until they, revitalized it and made it one of the wealthiest areas in Providence. But Randall Square was a mecca for music, and mostly black-oriented music. And Italian Americans, Irish Americans, Jews went there, and blue bloods from the East Side, and English Protestants and who were wealthier, and they all mixed there during the 1950s, and they had bands like Louis Armstrong, Nat King Cole,
Wow.
Count Basie, Duke Ellington, Sarah Vaughan, and they played music 7 nights a week. Providence has a rich history of jazz and black-oriented music, and even in the 1960s, James Brown played in Lupo's, and Tavares came out of Providence, and they're more a disco band, but they were Cape Verdean American brothers, 5 brothers, and you might have heard them, and they were born in Providence.
Yeah.
And they
yeah.
became pretty famous
they were
worldwide
super
because
well-known,
they were on the Saturday Night Fever album.
Okay.
And they sang what's that song? Oh, More Than a Woman. And they won a Grammy for that. So when I grew up in Providence on the Mount Hope section, which was right near the Lippet Hill section and right near Randall Square, I had all these influences of music coming from the black community, soul music, and Stax Records, and the Motown sound. So Providence, among my, white friends, soul music became really important, and as well as blues. And so, in my neighborhood, we had the Groove Masters. Do you remember the Groove Masters?
Yeah, they're pretty well known.
Dennis
Providence
McCarthy
band.
and Gary Cummings, and they were a local band, and they played mostly soul music.
Yeah.
And they were white guys, and they could dance. And they could dance. And Tommy Enright, who lived behind my house, he played for Room Full of Blues.
Oh, yeah.
A Rhode Island famous band. And Preston Hubbard lived across the street from me, and he was a bass player for the Room Full of Blues for 10 or 20 years.
Wow.
And Duke Robillard played for Room Full of Blues, and he married my girlfriend in high school, and she grew up in the neighborhood. And so there was all this musical gumbo in Providence at the time. And then Lupo's came into existence in 1975.
Okay, so this is another music venue, music club, right?
Yes,
Lupo's,
a music venue. Lupo's and the Met Club, which was also owned eventually by Rich Lupo. The Met Club was in the Jewelry District, the original Met Club, which was a hole in the wall.
Well, you mentioned one I wanted to follow up on, I think, and maybe people that aren't from Providence area would recognize the Talking Heads, which now were they officially from Providence? Or I know some of them were students in Providence, but
what's
David
the guy?
Byrne?
David Byrne.
Yeah,
he went to RISD, Rhode Island School of Design.
Okay,
so he wasn't originally from Providence, but he got his start on the east side of Providence at RISD
as a musician. Okay.
And they formed that band. And I remember them when I was probably in my, 20s, or I remember them playing local venues and Talking Heads. I never saw them, but I remember them playing various venues.
Venues, yeah.
Venues.
So but they might be more associated with New York City, I guess, eventually. But maybe got their start in Providence too.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
They Brown University and RISD were meccas for music lovers, because I saw at Brown's Meehan Auditorium on Hope Street in Providence, I saw the second to the last concert of Bob Marley, and I saw and reggae was really popular in 1970s in Providence. I saw Toots and the Maytals at Brown. I forget where that venue was where I saw Toots and the Maytals. It might have been Meehan Auditorium. And I saw Jimmy Cliff.
Oh, okay.
And they all came to Providence.
Yeah, that's great. And because again, like you said, it's kind of it's on the route between New York and Boston.
Yes,
so if you're traveling,
and it's if you're traveling, and it's much more smaller venues.
Yeah,
and they could get a bite to eat. Providence is a mecca for restaurants and good eats, and they could rest up in Providence before they hit the bigger venues in Boston and New York.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. That's
and
great.
that goes back to the vaudeville circuit.
Yeah.
And it's a straight line up until these bands come in the 80s and 90s and probably into the 21st century.
Wow, fantastic. That's a
Yeah.
great history of music in Providence, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Really interesting information. Thanks for enlightening us with that, John. We really appreciate it. And helping us to take the mystery out of history here in the Two Cat Kitchen.
Okay. Thank you.
That's all we have time for in this episode of the Two Cat Kitchen. We'd like to thank our musical guest, Ben Quinn.
And Mr. O'Malley for taking the mystery out of Vaudeville.
Join us next time right here at the
Two Cat Kitchen.
The culinary two-cat show.